Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw us some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm kicking back on this one.
Yeah, you kind of did you came into this saying, I need this little bit of 35 milligrams of caffeine in a bubbly.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it actually called Bubbly Up?
It's called, that would be really good if it was, but it's
in my head, that's what it's called.
It's called Bubbly Bounce.
Bubbly Bounce.
But
Bubbly Up is better.
Frankly, the amount of money you should have made just now with that statement from the Bubbly Company is unreal.
Yeah.
Because that's way better.
I know that we're kind of not into doing ads on this show, but I'm going to try to start doing some native market. What do they call it? Where integrated marketing?
Funny
where you
marketing.
don't know that I'm doing an ad, but I'm just like mentioning like Burger King in the background.
It's like how you watch The Sopranos when you finish an episode and all you want to do is get some Coca-Cola.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we're not alone in the studio.
Hey,
come in.
Hey, I heard Kyle was kicking back on this one. Do you guys want an extra hand?
Mind if I hop in on this?
I would really appreciate it because, frankly, I have no plans to say. I'm not going to say much this episode. I'm just going to kind of like listen.
I'm your co-host, Jules, when we have special guest Kyle in the studio.
Yeah, that's right.
With a light touch.
This is actually kind of a fortuitous occasion, Jules, for someone of your background and knowledge to come in on this, because this week I wanted to do kind of a primer on something. I wanted to kind of go back to the basics.
Oh, you're saying it's good that I don't know anything about anything. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like it's good to have me on because I have some basis of knowledge, and I was like, I'm sure I don't.
No, so here's what we're doing this week. In doing a lot of research on many different episodes, I keep coming across more and more alien races. And in doing research on those topics, you don't have time to really dig into what this alien race is, where it came from, what the history of it is, all that kind of thing. So in this episode, and maybe some more in the future, I want to take down one alien race and kind of talk about what it is, where it shows up, where it came from, the history of it, all that kind of stuff.
I can't believe that that's technically a novel idea on this show. Although we did cover like the mantis, but I can't remember if that was in the context of something broader.
Well, that's the thing, because I did do a mantis aliens episode pretty early on, but much like every episode before about 100 or so, we didn't have the best. I didn't have the best resources.
Yeah,
I was still very new to a lot of things.
Do you mean to tell me that you were just doing cursory Google searches to research your early episodes?
Hey, now we just do cursory DuckDuckGo searches.
Yeah,
it's growth.
I used to get 2, maybe 3 pages deep in my Google search. Now I'm going at least 8.
Yeah.
Also, I would just like to point out that Jules and I are the only ones in this room with a pop filter, so it just looks. So Niall, you're
you look like an amateur.
Very confident about your plosives, I guess.
I do like that you're commenting on the fact. So this microphone has 2 different windscreens on it. It just doesn't have a full blown like in front of the microphone pop
attachment,
screen. Yeah, attachment pop
right.
screen. So
that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Please go in depth about your choices of how you.
All right,
set up
so
all
the
of our microphones
SM7B
today.
is a pretty standard broadcasting microphone. In fact, the B in SM7B stands for broadcast. So
hey,
this is a microphone that is intended for the human voice, not necessarily. It does get used in recording for music, but it is in a lot of cases it's a large diaphragm. Wow, my brain, not condenser, the other one.
Right.
You're fired.
Hey,
Hey,
God damn.
Niall.
Dynamic. Large diaphragm dynamic microphone, which is an unusual thing because normally you don't have a large diaphragm on a dynamic
Would you say
microphone.
that it's weird?
It's a little too common to be weird, but maybe it does get a little weird.
Hey, Niall,
Yeah, what's up?
think about your microphone when I say this. Sure.
And on that note, we're going to move on because that's about the best joke we're going to get out of that bit. So this week, I want to do a primer on the Alpha Draconian aliens.
Okay. That is a name I've seen a lot.
Yes.
Does that ring any bells, Jules?
Niall, I earlier today, like a few hours before recording, I asked Niall, "Oh, are you recording today? Could I be on maybe?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. We're doing Alpha Draconian aliens." And I went, "Okay, I'll think about it." And then a few hours passed, and about 15 minutes before we were going to set up to record, I went, "What the fuck is this episode about?" It went in one ear and out the other. And that's why I am the layman of this episode.
It's honestly kind of incredible, though, because I can pick up, I could like tell you some lore about, I don't know, grays, tall whites, whatever. I don't know if I could tell you what an Alpha Draconian is. I'm sure I've heard it.
Tall whites. Do you mean
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien?
Basically,
yeah.
Conan O'Brien does look like, if you picture those like Nordic alien paintings that like some people make, you know, the very like sort of 70s, 80s vibe depictions of those aliens, you could paint Conan O'Brien in that style and it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, he could be hiding out one of those things, and no one would be the wiser.
If Conan stepped out of a flying saucer, I wouldn't be surprised.
Remember when he wore like the really tight jeggings that time?
I do.
No.
And if he walked out of a UFO wearing those things, it would basically be like an alien race invading.
Yeah, basically. So, but tell me, Niall, because again, heard the name, don't remember. Alpha Draconian. What's the deal here?
The last place that we talked about Alpha Draconian stuff was on when I did my last episode involving Mars. The like kind of in the secret space program episode, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
They're like one of the. Oh, Jules is showing Kyle a picture of Conan O'Brien in jeggings.
I've never seen that photo of
felt it
Conan
was
O'Brien.
important.
Wow.
Yeah, it is kind of an important visual. If you haven't searched this, Conan
That's
O'Brien
really good,
in
actually.
fucking like painted on gray jeggings.
I just
is
Googled
important.
Conan O'Brien wearing jeggings and it immediately came up.
Wow.
So yeah, imagine that coming out of it, a flying saucer at you, and tell me you wouldn't be terrified.
That's right.
The aliens have arrived.
Yeah. So they were, the last place they showed up was in kind of like they were being, if I remember correctly, sniped by like
Right. It was a super soldier episode.
yeah, super soldier secret space program ops.
Okay. Now I have a bit more of an image in my head of what an Alpha Draconian is.
And by the end of this episode, Kyle, you'll have an even better image in your
Excellent.
head of what an Alpha Draconian is.
Wonderful.
And Jules, I'm hoping you'll be right there with us.
Great.
So
I'm sure if you ask me about this a couple months from now, I'll be like, do they look like Conan O'Brien in
Yeah.
jeggings?
that's really, if you will take nothing else from this episode, remember that an Alpha Draconian looks a lot like Conan O'Brien wearing jeggings.
That's the headcanon forever.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like a 25-foot tall dragon.
Oh.
So let's go ahead and dive in here, because this is kind of the thing that I realized when doing this that's going to be the tricky needle thread going forward, is to not take on any extra tangents, because this could be a like 3-parter, and I'm trying to do an actual primer.
Well,
Why the fuck did you let me on
this is you
this
really
episode?
shot yourself in the foot.
Oh no,
with
I'm
this
saying
one.
I can't go off on any extra, because
okay.
I could just, because there are like 2 names that come up when talking about Alpha Draconians, and they could both be their own episodes, one of which we've already talked about quite a bit. Each of the stories that I'm going to kind of summarize for you could be their own episodes, and probably will be in the future. So this is going to try to be an actual like.
I
kind of
actually
primer.
pride myself on the fact that every episode of this that I've ever been on,
Yeah.
short of like maybe the first 1 or 2 when I was like still nervous to be in the studio, every single time when we finish recording, whoever is leading the episode turns to me and is like, I had like 2 more pages of notes that I didn't even get to.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive in before we get too off the ball already. So we're going to talk about Alpha Draconians today. Now, Alpha Draconians are also known as a couple other names. Rosnik Nagas. Sometimes they're just referred to as Dracos, which also gets used for a larger kind of subsection of reptilian aliens or kind of dragon-like creatures, and also reptoids. So those are all, and those last two specifically do get used for kind of all sort of reptilian aliens, from the straight up reptilians to the Alpha Draconians.
Yeah, reptoids and Dracos I've seen, but never the other one you said.
Yeah, Rosnik Nagas is seems to be another designation that comes in more with the kind of the lore of where these people came from.
The way that those words sound, I had to really quickly make sure it wasn't Carl Sagan like his name backwards.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of that vibe. The other thing you'll sometimes see when you're looking this up is these creatures being referred to as Sakara, which is kind of the name of where they supposedly came from in some versions of their lore. So those are some of the other names that these creatures will get called. Now, this will kind of be divided into two groupings. There's the kind of more universal conspiracy version of the Alpha Draconians that fits into your Illuminati plots, NWO stuff, your like general like secret government deals with aliens kind of conspiracies. And then we also have where they bleed into Starseed lore.
Right.
So the Starseed lore will be at the end of the episode a little bit separate because it's its own thing. But we're going to start with kind of where they fit into general conspiracy lore.
The Starseed stuff's so bonkers because, like, if I remember correctly, it's the reptilians that are like siphoning your energies essentially, and you have to combat them with your Starseed powers, basically.
In Starseed lore, the reptilians are basically, I think, analogous to the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
So they are just the evil forces. You can
Energy
really look
vampire reptilians, whatever you want to say. They're just an evil alien.
with Starseed lore. You really can look at it as the cosmic battle of good versus evil energies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
putting positive vibes out into the world is a good thing, and everything else is trying to bring you down with negative, dark vibes.
And I must admit, I'm not really into the whole Starseed high vibrational energy bullshit, but it is kind of awesome to be like, oh, I'm in a good mood. A reptilian is being vaporized somewhere. That's kind of
Yeah.
kind of fun.
I'm really driving off those energy vampires by listening to some Bob Marley and chilling out today. It's
Yeah.
great. So let's go ahead and look into the origins of where, as far as I can tell, the Alpha Draconians came from. One of the first places they come out of the kind of grand reptilian conspiracies. That seems to be where they come from. So the origin of that comes from Michael Barkin. He is a professor of political science at Syracuse University who's done a lot of research into where these ideas of reptilian aliens and stuff have come from, and he posits that they originate in the fiction of Robert E. Howard.
Have we talked about this on the show?
I don't know if we talked about it at length. I did an episode, or one of us did an episode that kind of dovetailed into David Icke stuff,
Right.
and I think it got maybe touched on there.
Yeah, this is I can't remember if it's just that I'm very aware of this fact or if it's come up on the show, but the Robert E. Howard connection is pretty interesting.
So for those that don't know, Robert E. Howard is the creator of Conan the Barbarian. He is a fantasy author and I think some sci-fi stuff and just kind of genre author from the era of pulp magazines. The origins can kind of be traced back to a short story entitled The Shadow Kingdom, which was published in Weird Tales magazine in August of 1929. It draws on the theosophical ideas of Atlantis and Lemuria as lost worlds, and particularly draws on the secret doctrine of Helena Blavatsky.
I don't know if I knew that there was the Blavatsky theosophy connection, though.
Robert E. Howard stuff ties into a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So Kyle, do you want to make a quick rundown of theosophy?
Theosophy, Helena Blavatsky. It's I think they call it New Age spiritual movement, new religion, whatever you want to call it, of the like late 19th, early 20th century. It's a lot of Christian stuff mingling with like the occult, really.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a rundown. We really got it. It's a white whale episode, that one, the Blavatsky and the Theosophists.
Yeah. And I realized that I was like, okay, we're going to do a primer. And then I was like, well, it's based on this, that
Yeah.
touches on Helena Blavatsky, all this crazy shit.
Can I go back
Yeah, go ahead.
to square one with you?
Yes.
You threw out very casually earlier that these are 25 feet tall dragons.
Yeah.
And then you didn't really dig down on that part of it at all. And
Yeah.
instead took a sharp right turn.
All right, let's
into like all of this really deep. What? Like, can we start at the beginning?
here. We'll start from square one. There are alien
These are dragons.
beings. I'm going back further.
Okay,
There are
okay.
extraterrestrial beings that some people believe in that.
Yes.
Some people believe that they're reptilians, like they look like reptile humanoids.
Yes. And I'm familiar with that
Yeah.
concept.
Okay, so then what he's talking about
Is what if they were really big
What if they were
ones?
fucking big?
I wish that there was a video component of this podcast, because the longer that whole silence that there just was where I wasn't saying anything, I more and more was getting like just dissociating further and further and just like totally like, oh, I'm way out of my depth on all of this.
No, I threw the 20 feet, some of these are 25 feet tall thing out as kind of a tease for future stuff.
Okay.
That we will cover that later.
I was like, I really thought we'd be coming back to that quicker
Let
than
me
the-
summarize. There are reptilian aliens, and the idea of that in our culture and society seems to come from science fiction by the creator of Conan Barbarian that has taken some inspirations from Christian occultism.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
There's a which also might have ties to Nazi occultism,
Yes,
and
that is also true.
And if
you know.
you honestly, if you
Yeah.
had sat me in a room with just like a quiz that had all the proper nouns that you've said, and then like I had to write out definitions, I actually would have been close on most of them.
Yeah.
I will
Okay,
say.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I know what you're talking about. It just is like that you said like this is gonna be a simple primer. And that was the beginning. It's so batshit.
yeah, I think what I'm coming to realize is that my idea of a simple primer might be like a 201 or 301 course, not a 101.
We're too deep, man.
Yeah,
We're
I was
too
gonna say
fucking
you're
deep.
so far in the podcast.
We're
though.
so
And if you're
deep in it
if
now.
you're lost, just go back and start at episode
That's
1.
right.
Yeah.
If anything that we said confused you up to this point, whether or not it has to do with weird subjects,
You just
go
have to
back to
start at
episode
episode 1.
download everything, and get back in line.
Try to ignore all the burping.
Yep. Oh god.
Or enjoy
Sorry
it.
about that.
Some people like it.
Some people do
Some
really
people
love
like
it.
that kind of thing.
So this story does reference dragon men who once had a mighty civilization on the Lemurian continent. So this is one of the earlier instances of some sort of reptilian humanoid in science fiction or fantasy literature. These serpent men described by Robert E. Howard were described as humanoids with human bodies and snake heads who were able to imitate humans at will and who lived in underground passages and used their shape-changing and mind control abilities to infiltrate humanity.
Podcast co-host Kyle would describe that as cool and badass.
Yeah. Now, you might ask, hey, that sounds cool. When did it become a dog whistle for Jews?
That is the question. When did the
Yes.
reptilian thing become anti-Semitic? And I have some idea, but maybe you'll know better than me because of this research.
We will get into some of that here in just a second, but we've got another 40 to 50 years to cover
Okay.
real quick.
There's a lot of that in early kind of fantasy and sci-fi.
Yeah.
though,
Mhm.
basically, where like that so much of even this you get echoes of it in modern sci-fi because we
Yeah.
haven't updated any of the tropes that it's like an alien race. This is just racism.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
is just showing our actual
Well,
modern prejudice.
And if I can, and maybe you'll get into this, but like part of the reason I think that the reptilian connection came in
Mhm.
is there is this. I'm not going to come up with the right terms, but part of I'm Jewish. First of all, there's a primer for you.
What?
Well, there's this whole thing with anti-Semitism where it's like, as a Jewish person, as the object of an anti-Semite's hatred, you can blend into like quote unquote pure white society without being noticed.
Yep.
So I think that that's kind of where it ties in with this whole shape-shifting idea with the reptilians. So
Yeah.
that's a part of it. It's just like who
They're
started making
hiding
moves
among
that way.
us.
But yeah, that's the idea. The Jews can hide
Yep.
among the white people and blah blah blah. So,
That was Hitler's whole idea,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah. So there's probably a separate primer episode on that kind of reptilian.
Oh, fair enough. These are
But-
not necessarily shapeshifters.
No, I mean they are, but the Alpha Draconians are kind of they're tied to, but somewhat separate from. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Sorry.
But like, there probably will be another episode as a primer on just the reptilian kind of conspiracy in that regard.
I can take care of that one since it's so anti-Semitic for me.
Yeah.
I'll handle that.
Yeah, I'll let you dodge those bullets. So you might be more primed on that than me. So this continued to kind of breed more serpent men stories in sci-fi, including works by Clark Ashton Smith, as well as themes from H.P. Lovecraft and other people that kind of built the Cthulhu mythos. Then they
Very open-minded,
I was about to
people.
say,
Yeah.
notable racist.
Yeah, if you want to hear more about Lovecraft, I'm doing in our bonus feed right now. I'm reading a whole book on the Lovecraft's ties to occultism and how the Cthulhu mythos has been kind of co-opted by the black magic community. It's interesting.
Hell yeah.
So then this kind of started to permeate throughout time, with different authors taking more stabs at it, like Maurice Doreal in Mysteries of the Gobi in the 1940s, and also in a poem entitled The Emerald Tablets, which brings the whole concept of the Emerald Tablets written by Thoth, an Atlantean priest king.
Yeah, I was going to say the Emerald Tablets have come up a number of times for me.
Yes, because the Emerald Tablets then are the beginnings of a lot of the works of David Icke and get brought up in his book from 1990. 1999 was the biggest secret. One of his other books, Children of the Matrix, which the Matrix is the reality that we live in and all that kind of stuff that's being like run by the secret cabal.
Right.
So
Starring Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Now, historian Edward Guimont.
Oh, what was that? That was extremely low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, but look, if you throw enough low-hanging fruit at the wall, you still end up with some smoothies.
Hey,
so
I was going to say I'm still eating.
yeah.
That's my whole basis as a podcast guest.
Yeah. Now, this historian, Edward Guimont, has stated that the reptilian conspiracy theories, particularly the version of it espoused by Icke, drew from various pseudo-historical legends developed during the colonization of Africa, particularly surrounding Zimbabwe and the Mokele Mbembe, which we've talked about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a cryptid.
Yep. Which is, it's kind of part of the native lore of Zimbabwe. So this then leads into just the little bit of David Icke that we're going to talk about on this episode. His book in the 1999, The Biggest Secret, is what kind of brings the idea of these shape-shifting, tall, blood-drinking reptilian humanoids from the Alpha Draconians star system, which, hey, that's where that name comes from, who now hide in underground bases underneath inside of our planet and are the force behind this massive conspiracy to take over humanity.
So let me just really quick.
Yeah.
Alpha Draconians is an actual star system.
Correct.
The actual name of a star system. And that is where the name of the alien is derived from?
Yes.
You're saying? Okay. So just a coincidence that we named the star system Alpha Draconians and then the aliens there look like dragons?
No, they came here and they were like, "What do you call it?" and we told them, they're like, "That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll run with
That's
that."
sick. That's sick as
Yeah.
hell.
It is a bit of a coincidence if you think about it like
Isn't
that.
Yeah,
it?
a little bit.
all
And see
coming
that
together.
that's the kind of context that we bring you in here for, because I'm so like bought in on this stuff of just like this is just what
yeah.
it is.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
But
just
I don't
accept
think
it.
to- yeah.
Yeah. I completely understand.
Well, you're co-host of the hit podcast It Gets Weird.
Yeah.
That's your job.
So David Icke contends that most of the ancient and modern leaders of the world are actually related to these reptilians, including the Merovingian dynasty, the Rothschilds, the Bushes, the British royal family, and this theory is believed by way more people than you would like to think. And it is in the list of 10 most popular conspiracy theories, and a poll of Americans in 2013 indicated that about 4% of registered voters believed in David Icke's ideas.
Oh, that's 4% is not a lot of people.
I think that stat has been dropped while I've been on the podcast before, and it makes me sick to my stomach every time I hear it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
God,
there's a margin of error to that, but yes,
of course,
it is,
but
like you think about this stuff and you think, oh well, it's like probably 0.5 to 1%. 4% is a significant number of people.
yeah.
So I'm not going to go too much more into the David Icke parts of this, because that's like a whole other episode.
I got you.
That Kyle will,
Kyle's little gears are turning right now.
This is what I was hoping for, not this specifically, but like I wanted to do this type of episode because then that means we can do this for every other type of alien and just have something to refer to in every other episode, where I'm like, yeah, when the fucking Zeta Reticulans have a thing with the tall whites and and I can just be like, just go listen to this episode and you'll get all of it.
The reference points.
So
love it.
One other big name that comes to mind when you're talking specifically more about Alpha Draconian lore is a man named Alex Collier. Alex Collier runs a website that is devoted entirely to him being a Andromedan contactee. So he is an alien contactee, aka he has been visited and talked to by alien races, specifically from the Andromeda galaxy, but also has been kind of one of the people that have defined the Alpha Draconian aliens through his speaking with these aliens and everything. He's had contact with races that have interacted with the Alpha Draconians because, spoiler alert, they're kind of they're a little aggressive throughout the galaxy.
The Alpha Draconians are?
Yes. So they're
real alphas.
Yeah. They really
the rest of the aliens are kind of cucks when you think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which alien race is the beta cuck?
Small grays.
Which alien race is the most Christ-like?
Well, supposedly there is a whole conspiracy theory about Jesus being an alien, and I forget what race he comes from.
I was going to say, that's in the Urantia book.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the rewriting of the Bible by a guy who used to channel alien entities through a sleeping man. He wrote a book about it and rewrote the Bible using it, and it developed into a cult that makes sleepy time tea, celestial seasonings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did an episode on that a while ago.
That tea is a cult tea?
Yep.
The founders of it, yep.
I should listen to this podcast. It sounds great.
And yeah, Jesus was an alien, and he came, I don't remember. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Jesus was a Urantian or whatever.
Yeah,
who cares?
Fair. So let's talk about the origins.
I'm just going to say it. Go ahead.
The origins of the Alpha Draconians. The Alpha Draconians predate humans by hundreds of millions of years. They are an ancient race across the galaxy that has been around much longer than humanity. They're actually the oldest known reptilian race in our galaxy. The way back, they were actually seeded here on Earth by another mysterious and vastly superior reptilian race who are called the Tiamatians, who are a whole other episode that I'm going to have to do at some point.
This is fan fiction by a Final Fantasy player.
A little bit. I really would love to see if there's. So I asked a question on that I'm just going to repeat from my bonus episode, where I want to see, because like you can use the Cthulhu mythos as a basis for black magic rituals and stuff, and like just kind of actual magical systems. What other like pop culture has like is able to be used in that kind of belief system? Because I feel like Final Fantasy lore is on the levels of that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean Tiamat, I've seen a million different video games and things. So,
yeah.
Did that come from Final Fantasy, or does it have like an origin
Tiamat?
point that it's like that Final Fantasy's drawing from? I don't know.
I believe Tiamat comes from maybe Hindu lore.
Is it? Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I say lore. I use
mythology.
What has happened to me through doing this podcast and getting really into wrestling is I use lore and kayfabe when I mean like mythologies
Right.
and like religious
We knew what
texts
you
and
meant.
stuff. So all of those words are used interchangeably for me, and that's probably not great, but that's where my brain is right
It's
now.
fine. We
The
understand.
crucifixion is canon.
Yeah, Christ kept kayfabe by staying in the cave for 3
That's right.
days.
Actually, no. Christ kept kayfabe not only by staying in the cave, but also by allowing Judas to betray him.
Yeah.
That was Christ keeping
Yeah,
kayfabe.
that was a work.
Yeah, that was all a work. Christ knew that whole time.
The betrayal of Jesus Christ was the original Montreal screw job.
And so no, that was no. Peter denying him was the Montreal screw job.
Now, I always thought that the resurrection was a bit of a break in kayfabe.
It was really. It's kind of like Vince McMahon wrestling God, you know.
Yeah.
It's
a bit
it kind of
much.
jumps the shark a little bit.
Yeah.
Check out Outside Dive.
Hey, I didn't say it.
Mary crying at the cross. That was a shoot.
Oh fuck.
Oh
So
boy.
the Tiamatians and the Alpha Draconians appeared into our universe from another universe, or appeared into our reality from another universe, somewhere from where the Hindu Sanskrit texts refer to as the Locus and Talus. These are basically like the portals out in space that come through. That these people came through.
Okay. So they came through a portal. It was like they just appeared.
Yeah, they came through a gateway at the planet Thuban
Mhm.
or Alwade. Those seem to be the planets of origin here. The propagation of Earth initially started with the seeding of dinosaurs, and sauria-blooded dinosaurs evolved into iguanodontia, and dinosaur intelligence became more and more sapient, became more Homo sapiens, so like more human-like. So dinosaurs evolved more and more intelligence over time, and as they started to become more intelligent, they started to walk upright and as bipedals known as saurians.
Oh my god.
And as this continued, they eventually all developed telepathy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Such as that is just the natural course of things.
This led to the saurians developing a space program even more sophisticated than what we know to be as NASA.
Is
This
this
is really
when,
all we have to compare to. Is
when
like our-
dinosaurs walked the earth? You're saying this happened on Earth?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Yeah,
pre-extinction.
the dinosaurs
Cool.
got so intelligent they started their own space program.
So they're not extinct. They
just
built
transformed
rocket
into,
ships
yeah.
and left.
Somewhat.
it sounds-
we'll get into it. Don't get ahead of me here.
It sounds to me like the dinosaurs transformed into a new type of reptilian
Yes.
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
And just fucking took off. Who knew the missing link were dinosaurs? It was
I am, however, just picturing a T-Rex in a lab coat.
that's
And
honestly
frankly,
more fun.
you're not you're not that close, but you're not that far off either.
Frankly, you're
It-
not that close.
It works for now. I'll get to the actual physical description here in a little bit.
Okay.
But we're not even at the actual race.
I'm a
yet,
visual
so-
learner, okay?
that's
So
fair.
let me just keep my T-Rex in a lab coat for now. It
Yeah.
makes me feel better.
So these advanced saurians became known as the Sakar, Cekahhrr, or there's some other spellings you'll see around because it's a made up word.
What dumb sci-fi bullshit do I know that from? Is that Dune or something? Sakar?
Maybe.
Isn't there a place in something? I don't know.
That sounds familiar
might
to me
be
as well.
bullshit.
I also just want to point out that like saurians does kind of sound to me like it's implied that like it's kind of like what you were saying about Alpha Centauri, where like it sort of implies that they knew the word dinosaur,
Mm-hmm.
even though that's an invention that's relatively recent in human history.
Yep.
So
And I mean, this is all you can wave that all away by saying this is what we call them because this is because I do actually have some stuff on their actual their vocalizations, which are
wow,
entirely impenetrable to us as human beings.
sure,
So this is this is us naming all of their shit.
right.
So, the Sakara is what ufologists know today as the Draconian Empire, which is a thing that I don't know if we've said it in those words, but that is the like big reptilian galactic
Yeah,
organization of planets and shit. So that is the kind of in a lot of mythology of like UFO lore and stuff. That's like the big bad of like these are the aliens that are trying
Yep.
to fuck us.
yep.
So they're trying to rule us, not actually have sex with us. That's other aliens.
Yeah.
I realized I kind of had to clarify there. So most of the other draconian aliens that we know about, most of the other reptilian aliens that we have are manipulated half-breeds of these original Sakara aliens. And so a lot of the other reptilians that you'll hear about in conspiracy theory lore and everything are kind of dilutions of the genetic line of these like big motherfuckers. So
Okay.
the actual like to get into what they look like, you kind of have to talk about the caste system inside of the Alpha Draconian race. But let's start with the big boys, the actual like full-blown Alpha Draconians. They stand between 18 to 25 feet tall
It's a big motherfucker.
and can weigh approximately 2,500 pounds. Now, they are likened a bit to Tyrannosaurus Rex. So, Jules, there you go.
They do wear little white lab coats and
Yes.
glasses on the tip of their little dinosaur snout.
They struggle to use utensils with their little tiny dinosaur arms.
Yeah. They have black, leathery, brown scale bellies. They have multiple abdomens. They have whiskers along their chin and jawline. They have a mating claw and multiple tongues, ladies.
What? What? Wow.
Now
What that
they
mating claw do?
I don't know because they lay eggs.
Okay.
So
What?
the female of the species lay eggs, and they have what is known as a battle hormone that accelerates the birthing process.
Nice.
And this leads the females of the species to not participate in war because then there wouldn't be anyone to hang out with the eggs and secreting this battle hormone that makes these things like grow faster.
Yeah.
However,
Bitches be secreting.
However, strong young females are expected to kill older and weaker leaders in ritual combat.
Have you seen?
What?
Yes.
So they don't fight in wars.
Yes.
The ladies
Yep.
can't. But
Correct.
they do participate in ritual combat.
Yes.
But what
To
do
kill
they
the old and weak.
But and that's purely just to eliminate the old and weak. They don't take their place or something. They just are. That's to keep what the young
Yeah, they're
virile men
killing-
in on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So
Instead?
the men, the men of they're actually ruled by a monarchy of the queen genetic lineage. So like they're kind of the genetic material of the strong females is important to them. So if you are a young, strong female, you tend to cull the old and weak to bring about like this is one of those like barbarian races basically that is all about like
Eugenics.
yeah, exactly. This is a very eugenics.
Besides the mating claw
Mhm.
and the secretion of the battle hormone.
Yeah.
Are there any physical differences between the male and female? You know what I mean?
Not that I
Do they all have 3 abdomens and 4 tongues or whatever you said?
Not that I saw.
I'm also
They-
picturing when you say 3 out, they're bipedals. I'm really trying to picture this. Do you have a picture?
There are renderings, but I don't tend to put a lot of pictures in my notes because I don't
I'm a visual learner.
show them to Kyle.
They're bipedal. You're
Mhm.
saying they have 3 abdomens that's
They have
stacked on top
multiple
of each other?
abdomens, Yeah.
Okay.
And-
Are they like a standing centipede kind of looking thing?
They're kind of
You know what
so
I mean?
big that they have like a segmented chest, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like going up and up and up.
But
and-
but I'm saying like it's like a bug having multiple
kinda.
sections. Okay.
yeah.
And the mating claw is perhaps used. I'm hang on a second.
I honestly did not find anything else about the mating
Okay.
claw.
That's the dick.
Oh well, I was gonna say it's something to grab onto and use to grab onto when they're hitting it from behind, but
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is
Gotta
all
get
like
me one of those.
this is all coming from I think Alex Collier's stuff, which gets like very specific about certain things. I find in a lot of these people that are like so devoted to a specific topic, they will go so in depth on every detail of this other like this alien civilization. I feel like it's in an effort to have more information to give their people so that they can continue to make their job exist.
Mhm.
But also the specificity breeds some people to believe that it's more likely to be true because there's a lot of detail.
Yeah.
When in actuality, I feel like that's kind of the opposite. Like,
I also though feel that you're leaving out the third thing about the people
What's
who
that?
create this, which is that they're creating their own JO material.
yeah, that's definitely possible.
Like let me put it this way, like Giger wanted to fuck a xenomorph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's just true.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's true of most people who
Yeah.
are describing these
Somebody
kinds of
was
things.
thinking about that mating claw.
Who are your Collier?
Look, I don't know if this is Alex
wanted a
Collier's
mating
fetish
claw.
or not.
Yeah,
But it could be.
it is.
Yeah, I'm with Jules on this one.
So this leads to the females kind of taking over the home life of the planets that they're on. Like, a lot of the males are off colonizing other planets, setting up like underground bases at places. So a lot of the people that were on in the Mars episode that I was talking about, those were a lot of the male Alpha Draconians that are ruling over all of the other races on Mars.
Those are the ones getting bodied by the super
So that's why
soldier.
you need the super soldiers using like highly advanced like space age sniper rifles and like telepathy to like far sight to see and get the perfect headshot to kill these
perfect
things.
kill.
Do they wear clothes?
I didn't see now. Okay,
They wear an extra large tube sock on their mating claw, but that's about it.
so a lot of the renderings I saw, no, but there were certain.
Because this guy's trying to smash.
Here is the hard thing about doing a primer on an alien for an episode. Like, this is the hard part of this type of episode going forward is
The mating claw.
Yep.
the mating. Hey, the mating claw is always hard.
Yeah.
No,
That's the hard part.
there are so many different versions, and like there's no single place that has the like absolute definition of these things. So I saw everything from like pretty like very like brutal looking, massive, hulked up, like monstrous things down to what looked like a World of Warcraft character that had like hair and like some clothing and boobs and shit. Like there's a lot of variation when it comes to trying to like get the totality of this alien race, and but the most common ones that I saw didn't have hair and didn't have clothes. They were just scales and like very much just like dragon looking.
You know, the problem with something like the Reptilians, to get like a quote unquote definitive source, is like it's so widespread and so what's the word I'm looking for? It's just not, it doesn't really have one single origin point. It's like a coming together of different things. So like you're just going to get wildly different descriptions from all over the place.
It's
Yeah.
everybody's own personal Sonic OC.
Yeah, it's like what's happening with Winnie the Pooh now that he's out of a copyright.
Yeah,
claims.
like there's the like horror movie of Winnie the Pooh like murdering people that's coming out.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep, but you can't use any of the stuff that Disney has created, so it has to be a very traditional pre-Disney Winnie the Pooh, specifically off of the like. You got to stick back to the original.
You got to
story.
stick with the
like the
traditional
old
Pooh.
illustrated,
Yeah.
like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So even if you put like a red T-shirt on it, you're in dicey territory legally.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's a whole other thing that has nothing to do with this podcast, but is interesting to look into. Is like is Winnie the Pooh entering the public domain and what that means.
And there's no copyright claims over Reptilians, so people just go hog wild.
It's funny how much we talk about copyright on this podcast because we shouldn't. Like, there's no reason why that should come up as much as it does. But we talk a lot about how fucking weird American copyright law
I think
is.
it's just a pet peeve of both of us.
So I do have a little bit more about them physically.
Nice.
Now they breathe hydrogen. They also have 3 spinal columns. One spine is located ventrally near the stomach. The other 2 are located dorsally on the left and right of the body.
All right, now let's talk about waist. Where's that? Where's the hole?
I don't have that specifically, but I do have So spinal columns join near the dorsal of the geometric center at the extreme posterior of the trunk
Okay.
to form a long and very powerful tail. And inside of their hands are claws, which have these jelly-like sacs that excrete various hormones and substances when the Sakara is either aroused for sex or battle.
What evolutionary path? What benefit is there to have sacks in your
Pre-lubed
claws?
for hand jobs.
That's
Done.
There you go. It
Whatever, I guess.
when it's maybe that's the mating claw, is this like jelly-like sac thing. I don't know. It's not clear. But yeah, that's all part of the.
But you're saying they have claws that are just out all the time?
Yeah.
Or okay. At first you said claws in their hands, and I thought that they were like Wolverine motherfuckers.
No,
like
they might be somewhat extendable. I don't know. Like,
I think probably different lengths for different purposes. The mating claw might be a little bit longer.
maybe.
and rounded at the end.
Yeah.
And I also just want to kind of like point out, just think about everything that's just been said in this episode so far, and then think about the fact that these things have long claws and also have to operate like advanced technology with those claws, and how cumbersome that is, and how awkward these things must look when they're trying to punch buttons into their spaceship. I don't know.
Like, have you ever let your nails grow out too long and then you try to type?
Yeah, no, it's like that, but like times 10.
Way worse. Yeah.
Their labs all have like a scratching post like you have for a cat.
Yeah, there you go.
You just like step into the most advanced alien technology spaceship, and in the corner is just an Earth-style scratching post for a cat.
And
I love
these dinosaurs go like, "Excuse me."
Hold on one second. I need to be able to operate the steering wheel.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to blow through a lot of this stuff. Let me try to summarize here going on. So the Draconians have two main castes. They operate in a caste system.
Good.
Where the big motherfuckers, the ones that we've been describing here, are the Sakara, are the royal lineage of the reptilian line. So they are the like big mamas. They're the people in charge. Then there's the secondary caste, which are a little smaller, but they still have the psychic ability, wings, all those kinds of things. And they are kind of the grunts. They do a lot of the work, whereas the royal line does the ruling. And the Sakara, the royal line, actually are somewhat clairvoyant as well, which leads to a lot of their ability to take over a lot of other civilizations. They have some level of clairvoyancy that allows them to be extremely effective in battle. In their worldview, supposedly they believe they're the first intelligent species in the galaxy, and have seeded many worlds with their biological offspring. And they claim to be the natural rulers of all reptilian-controlled worlds, which does include Earth because they were seeded there back when they were dinosaurs. So any planet that has been touched by this seeding of reptilian creatures is considered by them to be their rightful world that they rule. And that's why they have this whole plot to take over the world.
So why haven't they arrived on our doorstep and just destroyed us all?
They're already here, and because they have like shapeshifting and telepathy and shit, they're like working underground to take over. So like the Alpha Draconians, or at least some of the Dracos and stuff, are at places like Dulce Base, and,
right,
doing all that stuff.
But everything about how insanely powerful they are suggests to me that they don't really need this cloak and dagger operation to take us over.
Well, what's interesting is I actually have an answer for that.
Wow. Okay.
And to get to that, we will have to skip ahead a little bit. Let me just. So they've got their empire. They're out in the world. They're out in the galaxy, taking over all these planets and everything. They're a mighty civilization. They're colonizing all over the place. And then they get into a war with a group of beings in the Lyran systems. The Lyrans. It seems to be another alien race that I haven't come across a whole lot of.
So
this is a new thing that I'm going to have to do another episode on. And this basically leads to a massive galactic war between the Sakara and the Dracos versus the Lyrans. and this wipes out a lot of both sides. Like this is a war with heavy taxes on both groups. So this leads to a kind of a much smaller group of people, like the Alpha Draconians especially, and the Dracos as well, are in much smaller numbers across the galaxy now. So they have taken to using infiltration methods, and they're kind of like using hybridization stuff to do some sort of like infiltration and taking over of the ruling classes. So a lot of the reptilians that have been historically in ruling classes in Earth are like hybridizations of the original Alpha Draconian lineage through the humans. And that leads to these hybrids that are then loyal to the Alpha Draconian elites, but are able to slip into the Earth and take us over through the stealth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I still don't think it. I get the idea. It's just like you send 2, maybe 3 of the big motherfuckers here, give them a day, and we're done. You know, or like, so I don't know. It's like, oh, okay. Instead of doing that, we play the long con game of interfering with global politics.
I mean, they're also trying to like to bring up their numbers, so they're doing a lot using that mating claw a lot to try to replenish their reserves effectively. So, yeah, they're playing a bit of the long game in terms of taking over the galaxy.
All right, I'll accept it for now.
Yeah.
I think really maybe the ones who came to Earth were like, oh, this is a pretty sweet gig.
Kind of like it here.
I got a Netflix subscription.
This-
The Earth food isn't half bad.
This is the only planet we've found so far that has the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Like, and it's not like, I mean, there's other good chicken places, but like,
they got into like
sometimes.
craft brewing.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like there's a lot of reasons that you could look at of like the boring version is sure they don't have a lot of numbers, so they're gonna take us over slowly and infiltrate so that there's no chance of us rebelling against them. They get total control immediately after they infiltrate for so long. But in reality, they just want to see if we're actually going to get a Jackass 5. You know, like they thought, you know, maybe 4 has revitalized the franchise, brought everyone back together, and they had so much fun making it that maybe we will get Jackass.
Yeah,
5.
they're curious if it's going to be like sort of the descendants of Jackass, these new Jackassers, and how they can carry their own sort of thing.
They really liked Poopies, you know?
They
want
Poopies.
Poopies to come back.
They want to answer the age-old question, is Butterbean okay?
Yeah. Yeah. The humanity shown by Johnny Knoxville has earned us an extra 50 years by these Alpha Draconians.
They get like a report back on Alpha Draconis, and it's just like a gigantic alien hall full of giant reptilians, and you see them like turn on the projector, and it's just that clip. From,
Yeah.
Is that the first Jackass?
It's the first movie, isn't it? Or
I think so.
This is the second movie. It's the first movie, I think.
Lots of roaring and clicking of claws when he asks if Butterbean's okay.
Yeah.
He just posted a picture on Instagram with Butterbean.
Butterbean?
Really?
Oh.
Johnny Knoxville did.
Okay.
He
Hell
and
yeah.
Butterbean.
Well, we figured you weren't talking about an Alpha Draconian.
Photos together.
That you'd have to really zoom out to get the full, like all 3 torsos and spines in there, you know? Because Butterbean's not a tall man.
No.
It's true.
Yeah. I do love that Butterbean just made like a side career for himself, beating up wrestlers and Hollywood people. Because he just became the go-to of like, oh, you think you're tough? Get in the ring with Butterbean.
Yeah.
Let's
And
see if
that's
we
good
can
for him.
rally him to start beating the asses of podcasters.
Or maybe we can send Butterbean to Congress to clean up house.
Oh, but
Topical.
the problem is the problem is he starts beating people's asses in there, and you're gonna hear all kinds of clown nose honks when he's doing it.
True. Yep.
Oh my god.
So let's talk a little bit more about their colonization real quick. I'm learning more about the extents of what can be covered in a primer episode. I'll tell you that because I've got a lot of extra stuff here.
You let me in here.
No, I know. This
The
isn't
door
on
was
you.
closed. You opened it.
This isn't on you. This is on trying to figure out a new format for an episode. So, their main methods of colonization are setting up these outposts, which is like on Mars. Supposedly they have outposts even on the moon. They basically want to set up a foothold in a new region, and then seed people in through hybridization and military, like taking over military bases and stuff. So the reptilians here have been part of some of the alien treaties that we've talked about in the past, including the Granada Treaty with the Eisenhower administration, and the original treaties between the Greys back in and humanity back in 1934.
So, Jules, some aliens have made treaties with human beings.
I'm familiar with the concept.
Okay.
I find a lot of times stuff like that, at least the stuff that I have heard, is always very America centric.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the American
Yeah.
president has the authority to do that.
Yeah. Basically.
Which always
I mean,
amuses me.
the
Yeah.
thing is, though, like they could make a really lame but reasonable argument that, like, well, America is kind of like the superpower at the time, and like, you know,
Yeah, because we're
But-
assholes.
yeah, because
Well,
we're
and-
big stick swingers.
Yeah.
Well, and in this case, like, it's not just like Eisenhower was a part of it, but there also were like Russian agents and part of it and stuff. Like, it's basically world superpowers that have secretly banded together behind the scenes
Yeah.
to give themselves more power and save their asses when aliens take over
Again,
effectively.
I just
Um,
want to say there's no bigger superpower, as far as I have been able to understand it, than a reptilian ship and a couple of big ass Alpha Draconians.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Other than the fact, so I highlighted like one thing as like the thing that blew my mind when. So I'm just gonna read this verbatim from where I found it on. I think this was on one of like Alex Collier's. No, this was on Bibliotheca Pleiades. The British, Russian, and U.S. government is shooting down around one gray and reptilian craft a month with particle beam weapons developed from Tesla technology. So supposedly Russians have like a fucking football field full of crashed alien crafts that they just like. I don't know what it is, because so one parts of the like treaties that we talk about with aliens is this whole like you can abduct X number of people per year effectively. And I'm curious if there's another side of it. It's like, yeah, you guys can shoot down X number of ships a month.
Yeah.
That we send around. And that's just like fine.
Yeah. You have an allotment of aliens that you can fucking vaporize.
Yeah.
I
so
like that.
there's, so Draconians have a presence at a lot of the deep underground military bases that I've covered in the past. From Dulce Base in New Mexico to Los Alamos to Pine Gap in Australia, and all these other places all over the world. Basically, they're all connected by like hyper rail systems that connect all of these alien testing sites in deep underground military bases.
And that's why infrastructure in this country
Yeah.
above ground is so shitty, because all
Yeah.
of those resources
Yeah.
are being put underground.
This is why we can't
Exactly.
afford cross-continental train systems.
Yeah,
in the
and it's
United
why
States.
like bike lanes are bullshit.
Yeah.
So for the rest of my time here, I'm gonna talk about the kind of Starseed version of things. Just it's a lot of the same thing, other than they basically are like, no, it's not that they're actually from the planet you think it is. They're actually more tied to the fallen angels that are described in the Dead Sea Scrolls, including the Book
Oh.
of Enoch. So they, the Alpha Draconians are represented in the Bible by the descriptions of snakes in the fall of the Garden of Eden, as well as the snake that Jesus had an encounter with in the Garden of Gethsemane.
I feel like they would have mentioned that the snake was 25 feet tall.
I mean, this could have been before they evolved to be the big ones, you know?
These were babies.
Yeah, these were little babies.
Now, they also were represented in the great dragons and sea serpents of Chinese and Norse folklore.
That I've heard about.
So this basically, the Starseed stuff likes to take nods from all sorts of world religions and mythologies and just kind of say, oh, that's all ours now. And that's kind of what's happening here. So they do come from the same place in this version. But but the only difference is there's both light and dark reptilians, and that's because the whole starseed thing is basically you as a human being are a starseed of an alien race. So the light bearers on Earth, the people that are starseeds, are some of those that are actually draconians, are good draconians because they're not trying to take over the Earth. And
You're
they're
just trying
battling.
to watch season
You're
4 of Stranger
right.
Things.
Yeah.
And for context, a starseed is somebody who basically has an activatable consciousness that can ascend typical human consciousness and do all this energy bullshit.
They get superpowers through positive energy.
Yes.
And it's a lot of like basic kind of new age Eastern mythology brought into the way that like a lot of like white people interpret Eastern mythology into Judeo-Christian texts that also then get all put together with aliens.
Really silly if you think about it.
Or cool as shit. No, I think that like Starseed stuff is really interesting to me because it's such a hat on a hat. Like it's not just religious. It's also not just like meditation and spirituality. It's also aliens that are also this thing and that thing, and we're also alien. Like there's so many hats on a hat that I find the Starseed stuff really interesting.
It is interesting. I guess for me, my problem with it is it's like it is a mythology for spiritual egotism, just the main character syndrome shit.
Yes, spiritual exceptionalism.
Yes.
So this actually does have a little bit of a picture of what they think Draconians look like, kind of in a rendering
Starseed version.
Yeah.
So that's a character from Mass Effect. I think.
I was literally going to say Mass Effect.
It looks like a Mass Effect character. Maybe we'll throw this image somewhere. I don't know. But the characteristics of a typical reptilian or draconian starseed include a commanding and confident personality type, a chameleon-like effect, and you can blend into most environments. You're very adaptable. You have a strong sense of duty to your career or mission. You have high physical stamina. You may entertain a dangerous or very physical job. Include the examples they give are shark diver, mountain climber, or adventurer.
That's my favorite job.
Mm-hmm.
Shark diving.
What about?
Yeah, we're gonna have you get in the water with this thing for a couple minutes.
Yeah,
that'll be $50,000.
What about talk show host?
See, you're not like you're actually kind of superseding my conclusion that I was about to draw here at the end of this list. So bear with me here for just a second.
Okay.
So you may entertain a dangerous or physical job. You are an expert in body language and communication. You have limited psychic ability and spiritual healing powers. You have high respect for your community. You dislike any authority higher than you. You're very guarded with your emotions. You're strong and stoic. You can be very money hungry if you're out of alignment. You're attracted to professions of politics, military, community groups, psychiatric, and other roles of authority. You're great at hierarchy building. You're results oriented. You have a need for respect and order. And you can make order out of chaos, although sometimes to your detriment. And that's why I think that Tom Cruise is a draconian starseed.
And I think you're right.
Yeah.
I also think all of those things describe Conan O'Brien, though.
I was waiting for the Conan O'Brien.
There you go.
It's Conan all over.
He falls a little bit into the chaos side of things, where he goes a little into the dark draconian at times.
No, I think Jay Leno is the dark draconian.
Yeah, fair. You're right.
I mean, you just have to look at the chin, and you get all that information.
That's where he keeps his mating claw.
Yeah.
Also, all of that shit was basically just like conspiracy theory, New Age Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, it's true.
You're not wrong. Now the reptilians and the dark, the light Dracos and the reptilians and all that stuff are from the 5th dimension and above in terms of vibrational energy, and they're often here to heal, cleanse, and collapse the energy of the negative draconians of the past. So if you're on the light side of the draconian stuff,
you're here to take over the Tonight Show,
yes.
But then NBC needs to fuck you over in order to make sure that Jay Leno stays in power.
Yeah, and the last little thing that I think is just really funny about this whole thing is when they talk about light draconians in here, they talk about it as basically like they're so like traumatized by being lumped in with the dark draconians because they didn't do those things. Like the physical and mental weight and strain of being maybe confused. Like, basically, it posits that people come up to a light draconian starseed and are like, I think you're actually an evil draconian starseed, which I don't think has ever happened in the history of humankind.
It kind of feels to me like a Tinkerbell situation, though, where like if people believe in it as a whole cloth thing for all of reptilians,
Yeah.
then you just effectively, I mean, like it's basically, neutralizing all reptilians, even though some of them are good, I guess.
Yeah, it's the Starseed one is. I really struggle to reckon with it in terms of draconian lore, because it feels like it's just like, oh sure, like all of that stuff, but also like we have good ones that because people want to be draconians is how it feels. Like I don't know what to do with a lot of the Starseed version of the draconian aliens, frankly.
But I mean, you just look at the canon of everything you just said. It all describes Conan O'Brien to a T. He becomes the host of Late Night with Conan O'Brien, right?
Mhm.
But then he's seeking more power. So he tries to get promoted up to the Tonight Show.
Mhm.
But the dark draconian Jay Leno steps in his way
Yep.
and tries to bump his time slot.
Mhm.
But he refuses to secede the power because he's trying to bring laughter and goodness to all mankind through the Tonight Show, right?
The
Yeah.
light draconians like Conan O'Brien have a lot that they're going to have to fight against. The Jay Lenos, the Jimmy Fallons of the Dark Draconian
Yes.
Alliance.
But he's thwarted
Mhm.
by Jay Leno, and he gets bumped to. First of all, he does his live tour initially, because he cannot. He cannot thrive in isolation. He needs to get out and get the message out to the people.
Yeah.
Go and watch Conan O'Brien Can't Stop for
Yep.
further information on this. But he also is obsessed with hierarchy. He is
True.
extremely power oriented. He needs to be in charge and in control of what's going on. And he is constantly berating his assistant. And then
And
he
his
gets.
his whole podcast is founded on
No, wait.
Okay, go
you're
ahead.
you're jumping ahead in the timeline. Then he gets his TBS show, but it's not enough for him. He's not
Sure.
reaching the audience. Even the jeggings are not getting him the ratings that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, because he starts to doubt himself because he realizes he has been beaten by the Dark Draconian, and that by remaining a talk show host, he might be mistaken for a Dark Draconian. So, because he needs the reassurance that he is a good light Draconian, he starts a podcast. Conan O'Brien needs a friend because he needs the reassurance because he doubts himself.
And even him classifying his people that he's talking to as friends is a sort of hierarchy.
That's right.
And need for order.
That's right.
So
I mean, just fucking think about it. We could have had full global consciousness Starseed activation if everybody in the world had watched Conan on late night.
And if Jay Leno had just stayed retired, we would
If
have
Conan
peace
had
on all
taken
worlds.
over the Tonight Show, if Conan was still hosting the Tonight Show, then we would have peace on all worlds. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not just on Earth.
we would have
Instead, we're
vanquished the
fucked.
Dark
Yeah.
Draconians.
And it's
Yeah.
Jay Leno's fucking fault.
Yeah.
Instead,
We're
we
just
got
fucked.
fucking whatever his car show was.
Jay Leno's
Jay Leno in,
Garage.
in
Yeah.
cars drinking coffee
Yeah.
with
Yes.
comedians.
You want to talk about Dark Draconians?
Yeah. Hey.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. And Jay Leno's bunker where he keeps all of his cars is actually hooked up to the underground rail system that connects all the deep underground military bases, and that's how he interfaces with the rest of the Alpha Draconians.
And he actually collects downed spaceships.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you think the other Draconians that he meets deep under the earth get tired of him saying, "You seen this? You heard about this?"
Now, this is really making me wish that my big question had been, how are the major Tonight Show hosts rank as Draconians?
I could do that right now
Um,
easily. I could rattle that off for you.
But that's not what I have written
All
here.
right.
But
The world will
honestly,
never know what my rankings are.
I might ask you that one because I am curious to see what you would say to my actual big question, because I wasn't planning for you in my big question.
No, do your big question.
So let's go ahead and get there. So this week for the big question, I'm honestly curious. Do you have an internal ranking of alien races? What are your favorites or least favorites,
Oh.
and where do Alpha Draconians rank? Now that we know more.
Yeah,
about them.
I do. Do you want me
No,
to go?
yeah, I was
or-
gonna say great. I'll let you guys do that, and then at the end, I'll do I'm gonna go from dark to light of late night talk show hosts.
Okay, perfect.
And so you guys do aliens, and
Yeah.
I'll do
Okay.
that.
Okay. So I know right off the bat, and it's not an exciting answer,
Mhm.
but I do think that the classic gray is my favorite alien.
Okay.
It's so iconic to me, and it's the thing that I grew up looking at in books about UFOs and ETs and stuff. So that's probably my number one favorite alien is just the classic gray. And the thing is, I feel like grays are very versatile in their usage in UFO lore and stuff because like they can be incredibly menacing or like the greatest ally.
Yeah,
The way
they
that they
can
get
really
depicted.
fit in anywhere. They're
Yeah.
the most versatile. They're the most versatile alien out there. Really.
Yeah. So I'd say those are probably number one for me.
Mhm.
Um
And I'm not going to say like you have to rank every because we've talked about on this show like 50 different types of aliens.
yeah.
So, but just like, what are like your favorites, least favorites, and where do Alpha
Grays.
Draconians rank in there?
Grays are top favorites.
Okay.
I would also say another favorite of mine just because they made a big impression on me when we did the episode were the mantis aliens that are literally just giant praying mantises that have like chill vibes.
Yeah, now that I'm doing these episodes, I might go back and take another crack at the
Yeah.
mantids.
So those are two of my favorites. It's tricky to talk about where reptilian stuff ranks because
Mhm.
I think your traditional like shapeshifting reptilian, I like enjoy it, but also hate it because
Yeah,
it's so anti-Semitic.
The anti-Semitism does kind of get in the way of your enjoyment of
Yeah.
them a little bit.
It's very I don't know if ironic is the right word, but there's just something about reptilians. That's another one that's just like very classic,
Mhm.
but it's thoroughly tainted by those aliens just run with a bad crowd.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the Alpha Draconians, I mean, a race that effectively is like dragon men. I gotta give it some props. And it seems to have a little bit of it has enough separation from the like anti-Semitic version of reptilians.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably still is.
It's
but-
tied to them, and I left I left more room. Like you could probably tie them together more than I did, but I wanted to leave because they are kind of different. When you get into
Yeah.
like the caste system and stuff, the reptilians tend to be like kind of that like secondary caste or like a genetic offshoot of those things.
Yeah.
Frankly, I'm also not 100% clear on how they're related, and I don't know if anyone is.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know the big monstrous ones that are like that have two abdomens and fuck with their claws. I'm kind of into that. I kind of enjoy that.
Mhm.
So those, I think rank up, but they're not quite party alien mantises or classic grays for me.
Okay. Do you have a least favorite alien?
Honestly, and it's difficult to say this because it's a similar feeling for reptilians,
Mhm.
but probably Nordic whites.
Yeah.
I
That's fair.
don't like them because like reptilian stuff can often be divorced from its anti-Semitism. Not that it can be.
Yeah.
But the Nordic tall whites feel just like inherently, just like from every angle, weirdly racial.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I
Fair.
like their stories. I like the stories that gave birth to them. I'm having trouble like Valiant Thor
Mhm.
and things like that. And but yeah, I probably the Nordic tall whites because
Okay.
they're fucking freaks, pasty freaks.
So I'm gonna go ahead and this for my favorite. I feel like this is maybe a bit of a. This might be a cop out in some ways because it's kind of grouping a couple things. But I love an alien that is like in some sort of like metallic armor kind of thing.
Okay,
So
like
like
a
your
Dalek.
Flatwoods monster or
Oh.
your like there was that. What was the one that fuck the Sandown Clown?
Oh, Sandown Clown's crazy.
The like those kinds of things that are just like this is like a weird mechanical thing with somebody inside that we never see.
yeah.
I think that's really interesting as like a way. And wasn't there like a robot one that you did an episode on like a long
was
fucking
it-
time ago?
That may have been the Pascagoula
Yeah, that Pascagoula
entity,
humanoid.
humanoid thing. I'm gonna Google that, but I get where you're coming
But
from.
that's like those things are just so weird and like capture my imagination in such a way that it's like that they rank as my favorite just because they're so interesting.
It is the Pascagoula
Okay.
humanoid.
Yeah, those are like the ones that I think are just so fucking cool. And then your like little mischievous fuckers like your Hopkinsville goblins
Hopkinsville
and
goblins are wonderful.
your pancake makers from wherever they were. I think those are interesting. So like I like some of the like kind of like scattered, clumpy, like weird, goofy ones. And Alpha Draconians I think are towards the top of like your basic, like your more consistently utilized aliens. You know, for your like basic level aliens of like the ones that actually get talked about a lot more. Because I don't think the Flatwoods monster gets brought into like the galactic civilization lore very much.
It doesn't get wrapped up. It's a little hard to pin down because some people call it a cryptid, some people call it an alien.
Yeah.
Although I think it's stronger on the side of aliens.
Yeah. That's why I was lumping it there because it tends to go that way, but it may not be. Who knows? But those are my favorites. Alpha Draconians are probably up in the higher part of my like of the kind of more common alien hierarchy for me. And least favorite, I don't know. Like the idea of the like absolute evil Anunnaki, like if they're not just reptilians, where they're like a hyper-dimensional like energy vampire being is just it feels so just like this is the most evil thing I could think of in a way that's kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
Although some of the Anunnaki lore and legends and shit are interesting to me. When it comes to like alien beings, it's not the most interesting one to me. So
okay, that's fair. Jules, do you mind derailing?
Do we give you enough time?
Bit?
I have a list of 14 talk show hosts.
Oh my god!
Are you
that
gonna
I
rank
did.
them?
This is purely from my memory, so I'm sure that there are late night hosts that I'm not thinking of. This is this is my ranking. There's 14, and I'm gonna go from dark to light.
Okay.
The first 7 I'm gonna say are the dark, and then the next the top 7 are
now. Are
into
you gonna
light.
deliver them like a top 10 list?
I should.
Yeah.
Can you get me a number 2 pencil to bounce around on the desk?
And I got you
throw?
like a drum, drumming sound effect.
So at number 14, the darkest of the dark is Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yep.
fair.
Yeah.
Followed by Jay Leno.
Yep.
Then James Corden.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yeah.
Stephen Colbert.
Yep.
Then Jimmy
Wow.
Kimmel.
Stephen Colbert, if we're just talking about him as a late night host, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He was swayed from the light side.
Then we're talking. Then Jimmy Kimmel after Colbert.
Okay.
Then Jon Stewart.
Fair.
And then Carson Daly. Those are the dark.
Okay.
Then starting to go into the light, we have Trevor Noah.
Fair.
Okay.
Then Seth Meyers.
Yep.
Conan O'Brien.
Yep.
John Oliver.
Okay.
David Letterman. Johnny Carson. And Craig Ferguson.
Craig Ferguson is the most. Okay. You did pick a good one to be the total embodiment of light.
Yes.
I will
and
say that.
I think that is in my mind at least. Johnny Carson is in fucking close quarters there up at the top.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I
think that was a good list.
Yeah, you know
Thank
what?
you.
I would not argue any of those choices at all.
I worked really hard on it.
Thank you. For
The
that.
only one that I might even try to put lower is James Corden, but that's just because I hate that
I
fucker.
do hate James Corden a lot.
Do you
But-
hate him more than Jay Leno and Jimmy Fallon? Because
Maybe
those were the two that
maybe
beat
Jay
him.
Leno, but not Jimmy Fallon.
I think I hate him more than Jay Leno because I've been forced to deal with him more.
Who has the darkest influence on
That's the
society?
thing.
I
That's
think
fair.
Jimmy Fallon and Jay Leno have done more to work their dark tidings.
I do think Jay Leno is like the laziest of the late night hosts.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
James
dark.
Corden is becoming more and more omnipresent.
Mhm.
But I don't feel that his talk show is having a dark influence other than ruining Reggie Watts.
Yeah.
I think James Corden is having a darker influence on me specifically than Jay Leno is on society.
Okay.
I have
Yeah.
literally seen things that he has done and just Kubrick stared at my computer.
I
screen
find
over
James
it.
Corden's existence it chills me to the bone.
Yep.
Knowing
Yeah.
that
Yep.
he is out there living.
I can't legally say that even as a joke, probably.
Yeah, that's fair. Save it for the Discord. You know?
Use your imagination.
Yeah. I think that'll wrap us up for this
Yeah.
week.
Thank you for the expose on the Alpha Reptilians.
We're gonna keep. I want to keep doing these because I think I like having things that I can point to as like, here's a place to start.
Here's how you find out about this concept that we're about to get into a million different things about. And hey, now I can jump on this train. I hadn't considered this either, so I like this.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you all for listening. Let's go ahead and take care of some business.
Yeah.
If you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're probably there.
ItGetsWeirdPodcast@gmail.com. Send us your alien rankings already.
Or late night hosts by vibrational positivity.
That would work too. Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say I would love to see both from listeners.
Yeah.
So please email that to us, and we'll read it aloud on our show.
Or if you're in our Patreon, there's a whole channel dedicated to that.
That's
and
true.
Kyle, how do they get in our Patreon?
Well, you can donate to patreon.com/itgetsweird. And oh my God, do we have 3 different ways you can donate to us. We have a $2 tier where currently we are watching every other week It Gets Weird TV on our show. We're watching Gravity Falls right now. And we talk about all kinds of different weird shows. There's quite a back catalog there. We also have a $5 tier where on the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV, there's another bonus show. Sometimes it's my show. Sometimes it's Niall's show. Sometimes it's Niall and I, and maybe even Jules sometimes watching a movie. It's all kinds of stuff on there. So at the $5 tier, you're getting It Gets Weird TV and those bonus shows. You're getting weekly bonus content. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to our mainline show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. You get access to our Discord where you can talk about what we just described. And you get the satisfaction of helping out your favorite weird podcast. We also have a $1 tier, which is just a tip. You don't get anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, I like your show. Here's $1. And if you can't donate to us, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
We're still campaigning to get 1 confirmed congressional listener in the year of our Lord 2022.
Yes.
Jules, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah, I have a podcast about All Elite Wrestling called The Outside Dive, which you can find on Twitter at Outside Divecast, that I co-host with you.
Yeah, hey, I'm on that show.
You're on that.
We post on Mondays.
You can think of it as a point of reference for a lot of our wrestling jokes that we did on this episode.
Yeah,
so
if you want to know what kayfabe or shoot or what other, we used some other wrestling lingo earlier.
Yeah, Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah, if you want to know what any of that stuff means, go check out The Outside Dive.
Yeah.
Which we run down. We do define the Montreal Screwjob in every episode. So, thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird. I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle signing out.